Publishing an Android app is probably one of the simplest things you can do in Flash CS5.5, and testing it on an Android phone is a piece of cake as well. But the first thing you need to do is you need to turn on USB debugging on your device. So here I have a Motorola Atrix. I'm going to go ahead and just go to the Options menu and select Settings. And then if I go to Applications, under Development, I want to turn on USB debugging. So I'll just select that. It just confirms that, gives you a message confirming if you want to turn that on. You say yes, and you can even allow for mock locations if you want to as well. So with that all set up, I can go ahead and just make sure it's connected by USB, and it is. And then I can jump into Flash and check out the Publish settings. So here's my app. Notice the size is 540 by 960. Again, this is for an Atrix device. And I'm going to go into the Publish settings. Notice my player is set to Air for Android. Now keep in mind, since it's set to Air for Android, it will require the Android runtime. Now, the user only needs to download it once, but it is needed if you're making an Air for Android app. I'm going to go into the player settings, which is really where I need to do most of my configuring. But as you can tell already, it's fairly set up. I'm basically going to be publishing out an APK file. This is your app file for Android devices. I've given it a specific name, so this is the name you'd give it, and this is the name you'd search on if you went and put this up on the Android market. This is the name it will appear under. Here's the app ID, version number. So as I make updates to this particular app, I can just increment this number if I want to. It's set to portrait, full screen. Render mode is going to use the graphics processor unit, so it's going to be much more effective when dealing with bitmaps, and I have a fair amount of bitmaps in this file, so that's set to GPU. I'm going to go into the deployment, and right up here, certificate. Pretend like I didn't have a certificate in here. And I'm just going to show you how to create one from scratch. So I'm going to select the Create button, publisher name, and it's just a matter of filling in the blank and just remembering your password. You do need a validity period of 25 years, and then you can go ahead and save it. In this case, I'll just save it to the desktop, and I'll just call it my cert. Save it, click OK, and it makes that self-signed certificate. And what this does is this tells users who made this particular app that they might be downloading. So for the password, again, I just have to remember the password I just typed in. I type it in there, and I can check that box. And notice my Android deployment type. I'm going to set this up for device release. And what I can do is, with that selected, I can even turn off these options right here, because I want to publish it for device release, but I don't want to install it right on the application right away. What I can do is just publish out an APK file and then put it up on the Android market. So again, just create the APK file. Right here, get the Air runtime from the Google Android market. So again, if the user doesn't have the Air for Android runtime, it will get that runtime from the Android market. I'll go into icons. You can see that I already have icons set up right in here. These are just ping files set to the appropriate size, so that looks pretty good. There's even some transparency going on because there are curved corners. And lastly, we have this permissions area. What you need to do is set the necessary permissions if you're accessing any of the capabilities of the device. So if your app is accessing the internet, you want to check that. In this case, it is. It's also going to get the GPS location of the device as well, because I'm using a map. But you can easily see I can access plenty of different phone capabilities. I'm then just going to go back to the General tab just to point out that I'm going to just publish out an APK file, an app file that can be uploaded to the Android market. So I'll click Publish, and it will generate that APK file. If I go to my desktop, notice there's my certificate that I made earlier. Inside of my Meridian folder, you'll notice there's that APK, which really consists of this XML file as well as this SWF file. So that's great. I can take that, I can upload it to the Android market, but really what I want to do is I want to test this out on this device here. So I'm going to go back into Flash, to the Deployment tab. With my device still connected, I'm going to install it and then launch that application on this connected Android device. So those two boxes are checked. I'll click Publish and it will publish out to this device. So let's take a look at our device. Notice how the app launches immediately. We can see all the graphics, everything's playing pretty darn well. I can select the Begin button, for instance. I can scroll through this list pretty easily. So it is a piece of cake to put an app on an Android device, and then I can easily take that app and upload it to the Android market as well. So give it a whirl yourself. My name is Paul Tranny, and thanks for watching.